Hey everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. Today we're joined by Matt the Hammer Hache of Ottawa Academy of Martial Arts. Before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel with many great athletes, coaches, breakdowns, and hot takes. You're not going to want to miss a thing. We are powered by Spirit Leaf Waterdown, located at 64 Hamilton Street North in Waterdown, Ontario. If you're looking for Canada's top cannabis brand, head over to Spirit Leaf Waterdown. Alex and his crew will get you set up with all your THC and CBD needs. In-store options are finally available in Ontario, and don't forget to use our promo code and you can save some money. Just follow them on Instagram and use the code CHPodcast10 and you'll get your savings. We are also sponsored by Project XGuard. Project XGuard has been helping underprivileged youth get connected with jiu-jitsu schools around the GTA. If you know anybody who would benefit from this program, reach out to us or Project XGuard and we'll help them get started. Thanks everybody, and we'll see you on the mats.
Ladies and gentlemen, listening to this, we have Matthew Hammer Hache, straight out of Ottawa Academy of Martial Arts, with us today. How are you doing today?
Amazing. Looking forward to getting the school back open, getting back to training.
I think we're very close to that right now. So, overall last year, how's everything been going for you? I know there's a lot of things going up and down right now, but how have you been handling things? How has the school been handling things? How have your students been handling things? So,
well, we've been trying to do our best to keep like a online presence. We try to do our best to switch over to offering online classes for our students and our members to keep people connected. Obviously, as the lockdown kind of came and went a couple times, we were able to get people in the school and get people training for a couple different windows of time, which was super beneficial. And then in the meantime, we've been just trying to do what we can. And I've actually been having some of our members go south to compete actually in Florida. So at least we got to keep some of our guys active. And then I have a big group going down actually in August to probably stay for a couple months to try to get as many events and tournaments under their belt.
How has it been the adjustment, especially for like some of your competitors, like not getting the type of training they might have been getting before, and then having to like without the looks, and then having to go into a competition, kind of like how they've been feeling, especially going down there and coming back? Like they feel they're getting the reps in, or is it kind of still a learning process?
Well, it's almost like how do you say it? It's like guerrilla warfare. We're basically trying to train wherever we can in people's basements and just basically do what we can to keep up skills, support one another to stay active. So, I mean, I've been really lucky that I have a really tight knit group that has basically stayed as active as possible. And we've basically been trying to do what we can. For a lot of my team, the only way to kind of keep them focused and inspired is be working towards goals. So kind of everything that's been going on with some of these states, it's kind of nice to have some opportunities and some things to work towards.
So when you kind of when there was just like a full shutdown, like the entire BJJ community just kind of shut down like mid-March last year, when all your kind of like competitors were like, okay, like how did they react to that first thing? Or they're like, okay, what do I do now? Like, how do they kind of feel about that?
Well, I mean, in all honesty, I think everyone was in pretty hard disbelief. It was pretty shocking. I remember for a lot of my team, everybody was kind of, just kind of in shock at first. And then we, like I said, we tried to adapt as quickly as we can with offering the online classes. And a lot of our members were okay with that, I would say, at first for the first few months. But for the competitors, it was very difficult. So a lot of them were just trying to meet up and do what they could with other competitors, either in someone's home, and just so they could, like you're saying, get the reps in, try to maintain a level of intensity. But as the whole scene kind of came to a standstill, it definitely freaked out a lot of our team. But I would say a lot of the competitors, you know, is what has helped keep me going. And you know, and knowing that there are some events going on around the world, it kind of gave us like a sense of hope to work towards something, at least in the meantime, until the community can kind of get back to what it is we love to do.
Yeah, it's also good to have that option where, you know, there's a lot of places that are starting to open up in the US. Things are getting a lot better. I think things are going to be a lot better here. I think the second half of the year as well, but at least it gives them an option. Like, as you said, like they can go down to Florida or different states where, you know, they have opportunities. There's a lot of tournaments going on, and, you know, they can do what they can down there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's pretty exciting to see that. I guess July, Alberta is going to pretty much open up. We were lucky to have one of our professional fighters just fight just a week ago now. Yeah, it was just last weekend or 2 weeks, maybe it's 2 weeks ago now. But Joe Maisonneuve got to fight on a the BTC event that took place in Vancouver. So
nice.
So like an example like that, where, you know, I can rally the team behind a fighter who's preparing for a professional fight. It kind of keeps a lot of a lot of my team, especially my staff team, keeps our head in the game. You know, we had to adapt to what we could do and how we could help Joe prepare, but gave everyone a chance to do some jiu-jitsu and focus our skills to basically get Joe ready for it was quite a fight, 3-round war that ended up going to decision.
That's awesome. So we've talked about a lot of the difficulties of training, like, you know, during the last year and a bit, especially even for MMA. Like, what is that process like? What are some things that, like, you have to change and things that you have to adapt from, you know, March 2020 to now?
Well, you got to get really comfortable training outside.
I'm outside right now. Like, you should see this background. I'm on a beach right now. This is great. Beautiful weather. I think I'm in Florida right now. You might not be able to see.
I was gonna say, apparently you're a guy to figure it out. It looks pretty nice where you are. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the training had to take place outside. You know, obviously conditioning outside is not such a big deal, but basically had to take a lot of our training outdoors and try to do what we can outside. And like I said, basically kind of like guerrilla style, like guerrilla warfare, where we're in someone's like garage or basement, you know, 2 people basically just training, trying to get the skills ready, put all the work in.
Mm-hmm. So especially kind of like you look at like things they're starting to ramp up, the possibility of reopening very soon is coming. What type of like explosion do you kind of like see, whether it being like health and fitness industry or even like just jiu-jitsu community in general? Like, how big do you see that explosion ready to happen? Or do you think it's going to be like a little bit more time before people start to get comfortable to come back?
Yeah, you know what? I think that's a really interesting question that I think a lot of people are kind of on the hinge on. They're not really sure what's going to happen. I think a lot of people are still scared, still very nervous, still very uncertain. So I think we're going to see a big population stay at home and kind of in the mindset of, I would say, kind of wait and see. Mm-hmm. However, I know as months passed from March 2020 all the way now to where we are now, I think the number of people who are kind of, I want to say, got like a wake-up call. You know, they've been maybe waiting to train, maybe to try new things. Now, a lot of people don't want to wait anymore. The amount of interest that I've been getting through my school is massive. People are just begging for our doors to be open, and they want to know what date that's going to be. So the moment specifically Ontario, the moment Ontario says it's go time, I know I'm going to have a gym pretty much ramped. And I think a large part of it is not only people kind of got a wake up call on how they want to try new things or challenge themselves with, especially with combat arts, you know, that's what we do. But the social interaction, I think people are, when it comes to the idea of loneliness, I don't think people really knew how bad it was. And here, experiencing this lockdown for so long, the idea of loneliness is actually a real problem. People are realizing they need social interaction. And if you've been thinking about being in a positive environment, or you've met or heard people being in an environment like ours, like martial arts, it's so enticing. You see the camaraderie that people share in martial arts schools. You see it on social media. You meet people, and I think a lot of people are in dire need of this social interaction. They want to be in a healthy environment, and then also maybe not such a busy environment, like maybe let's say a very commercial gym that would have thousands of members where they're a number. I think a lot of individuals don't want to be in that setting anymore, and I think they want to be in a setting where it's actually a bit more, I would say, inclusive, smaller group, where they're looking to feel part of a group. They're looking to feel part of a team, part of the community. They don't want to just go to a gym and exercise. They actually want to be part of something. And I think right now, especially considering the majority of people have been working from home through all of this, I think people are hungry for social interaction. So yes, there's a group that definitely doesn't want to be too close to anybody. And I think the group is much larger on the other side, where people are just dying to get back to social interaction. I mean, most people who are getting vaccinated are super excited just to get the doors open. So I think any of the martial arts schools that survived through this whole lockdown process, every school is going to skyrocket. And unfortunately, the schools that didn't, survive through this, I could see a lot of them coming back. I could see a lot of people trying to open up schools. I think the industry of fitness in general is going to be so explosive because everyone's been so stagnant at home. I think it's going to be wild for everybody for months.
Yeah. You've definitely said a lot. I think me and Aaron have discussed this a lot. Like, what is the future of, what does the future of the fitness industry look like? What does the future of the martial arts industry look like? And I think you nailed it. I think there's not going to be a lot of people running back to a big box gym, like a Good Life or an LA Fitness, for example. Maybe in that regard, they want to go to maybe a smaller, more boutique gym, which may benefit a small business owner, for example. And then on the martial arts side of things, I think that small, intimate, a smaller, more intimate environment where, they feel like they're a part of a team or they're a part of something, and, they're learning a skill. I think you nailed it. I think there's going to be a big demand for that. Maybe, and then I think there'll also be a big demand even for smaller boutique, training gyms, even with martial arts, because there may be some people that are maybe I don't want to go to a school with 5,000 people in it. Exactly. But, I want to go to a smaller group class, for example. I think a lot of people are going to be open to that. And I think especially as you said, when people are getting vaccinated, they're like, all right, now I'm good. I'm comfortable with this situation. I want to go out and I want to do stuff. I want to go out. I want to get on a plane. I want to fly to Florida like I am right now on the beach. It's I want to go out. Let me be free.
Yeah. I really think you're going to definitely see an explosion with kind of more niche schools and facilities that are really catering to a group of people, and especially to the neighborhood. But I think you're going to see, I don't want to say a mass exodus, but I think a lot of people are going to be very hesitant to be in these super large facilities where there's just so many bodies going in and out the door. I think people will be a bit more apprehensive about that. But going into smaller facilities with a smaller setting, I could see a lot of people really feeling comfortable with that. And then also, again, I think people are very hungry to feel part of a community. Being online, I really believe just doesn't cut it. They want to be talking with other people. Mm-hmm. And I find the martial arts environment where not only are you with a tight-knit group of people, but it's usually a room full of high achievers. and everybody's working towards a common goal. And I think a lot of people, that's what they're missing right now. It's like so many people are just working towards like nothing. Like everyone's in this like state of sit and wait and see, sit and wait and see. And people are so done with this. So yeah, obviously I think we're going to see a lot of travel and people going all over the place. But I really think I think a lot of martial arts schools are going to see a huge explosion. And again, small businesses I think are going to really explode because they're going to be giving that niche service where it's going to make a lot of people like so satisfied. They're going to find so much of what they've been missing, especially this last 14 months.
Yeah, no, it's going to be pretty exciting, especially like even you said, like, unfortunately, some of the schools that maybe didn't survive this whole thing, but all the potential for these new academies where all these guys that have been, again, whether they've lost their job doing something else and now they've decided to switch careers and they want something more rewarding, start a new small business for whatever they're planning on doing. So you're going to see whether all these new clubs start to come out from different teams, and it's going to be quite interesting to see how that explosion happens, especially like that Ontario community.
Yeah, I really hope that Ontario acts upon it. Like I really hope we see events from jiu-jitsu competition, Muay Thai competition. Even it'd be amazing to see amateur MMA become available again in Ontario, because I think a lot of new schools will open in this explosion. Once people start to see there's a lot of confidence where people want to be back in the martial arts schools, I think a lot of people who've been, like you're saying, either lost their job or they're sick of their job now. They've been stuck at home all this time and they're like, man, I don't want to work like this anymore. And I want to take on a new adventure. So I think we'll see a lot of new teams just sprout and pop up. And it's like all those people who've been sitting and waiting and thinking about doing stuff, that everyone is going to be jumping to, committing to starting a new business or starting a new adventure. So yeah, it's going to be very exciting. And I just hope Ontario acts well on that. Mm-hmm. So as the growth is happening, there needs to be support and there needs to be structure. Because what will happen is if there's big growth, but not support, people will then go somewhere else to find it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's kind of funny, but I've been seeing just Alberta basically doing a lot of things that I know is going to be very attractive for a lot of people. Like cost of living in the GTA is outrageous.
You're telling us.
Yes. and I'm from Ottawa. And the thing is, like, I see people moving from Toronto to Ottawa, and all that's doing is just pushing Ottawa into a more expensive, like our cost of living is going up by the minute. But then when you see Alberta making moves to be, I would say, more attractive to Canadians to move there, if someone is thinking about starting a new business, I just hope Ontario acts right to support new business, support these new ventures that people want to put big money behind. And if they don't, a province like Alberta, which is communicating, I would say, ahead of the game, you're going to see a big migration. Like if I was a 20-year-old and I want to open up a school, I'd be flying to Alberta right now. I'd go settle there right now, because Ontario, it's going to be a massive uphill battle unless, I would say, like Ontario, as in like the politicians, government, helps support the growth that's going to come.
Yeah. What are I hate getting political, but since we're on the topic, what are some things that you're seeing that Alberta's doing that you're like, yes, this is really attractive to me from like a business standpoint? And then what are some things that you would like to see Ontario do to kind of follow suit, like specifically, you know, just like cost of living, you know, getting small businesses going again, especially ones that have been, you know, pretty damaged in like the martial arts fitness industry, like the last like year or so. What are some things that you would like to see kind of put forward to help kind of, I guess, right some of the wrongs that have happened?
Yeah, I mean, I won't go on about righting the wrongs too much, because that's I think any politician in the position of COVID, no matter who would have been in charge, it would have been a very, very complicated. And I mean, the reality is, everyone has to kind of take a step back and learn from what happened and obviously prepare for the future. But like simple things like just even seeing Alberta reduce like their gas prices. You know, for young families just trying to get their things together, you know, I like small stuff like that makes an impact. And from what I heard, that as the gas goes down, well, so does the cost of food is going down as well. It's just small stuff like that where I know for new families, young families, that's significant. But I know that from what I can see, Alberta as well as BC is open to getting events going and getting that ball rolling. I'm just concerned that, well, for instance, Alberta's saying, from what I understand, after Canada Day, they're going to be open. They're open and operating, from what I understand, or that's their plan or what they've communicated. From what I feel, what Ontario has been communicating, that won't be till September 1st at the best. Like if all goes well, maybe September 1st, we look like something like that. And then even then, I'm very doubtful, you know, just the communication, I would say, from Ontario government, it's kind of, it's this again, the sensation of, well, let's wait and see. You know, it was kind of, it's been disappointing with how they've been choosing to communicate. And as someone who's trying to plan for the future, it makes it difficult. So I think what Ontario as a government and as leaders to communicate is we need a plan being communicated of what the future is going to look like, and ideas on how we can succeed. I'm hoping that we can see some events get going sooner than later. I mean, I'm really hopeful that September we can start running events, either it be from jiu-jitsu events or Muay Thai events, but that's fire for a school. Like that really sets people in gear, and that will be very beneficial for, I mean, yeah, any team, any school throughout the province.
Yeah, I think events would be like a big plus. I know, for example, I have a client of mine that works in the entertainment industry. So she works with a lot of like concerts and things like that. And it like, she's taken a massive hit because of this, because, you go from like concerts every week and like, being on TV sets and all this stuff. And it goes from that to nothing. Like I think she was telling me like one of her like year over year like revenue drops. It was like 95 to like 97%. So it's pretty much went from like peak business of like, just busy and having like 60, 70 staff all the way down to like 2 or 3 people.
Yeah. And that's it. And all I'm hoping is that we can get some sort of events going, just like for entertainment or public events. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have whatever restrictions they feel necessary or whatever policies. I'm not saying just go full on 100%, but I mean, we got to give us something here, something that we can start to work with and slowly expand into. But because right now it just feels like nothing can happen, and who knows when.
Nothing can happen. Everything's illegal.
Yeah. Like you have to give people framework, right? So something that they can work towards, and it's like whether it's markers, but like like you said, it's so poorly communicated. Where it's even like stage 3, for example, where they're like indoor fitness, but it's like with restrictions, and they haven't even communicated what those restrictions.
What are the restrictions?
So like you as a business owner, you can't even like you like, let's take your school for example, right? Like you're expecting this mass, all this people starting to come to like, hey, I'm ready to train, which is awesome. And that's great, because that's great to have business. But now you have no idea how to plan for it because you don't know what the restrictions requirements are. So how do you create a schedule? How do you do this? Like, can you have 10 people in a class? Can you have 15 people in a class? Do they have to be apart? Like, you don't know anything, which is not fair. So that the communication, and that's the last thing I'm going to say about it, it's just garbage, plain and simple. So they need to do a better way to do it. But I've tooted that and beat that horse like 50 fucking times. So I'm not gonna bother anymore. So,
we've beaten that horse quite a bit on here.
Of course.
Yeah, but you know what? I actually wanted to ask more than anything. It was like, as we have all these different individuals trying to get like started into a martial art or into new communities, like how did you even like get involved in the jiu-jitsu community to begin with? Like how did that whole transformation happen?
Well, I grew up with two older brothers who are enormous. I'm like I'm half their size. So I spent most of my life trying to run away from them and try to not give them a chance to beat me up. So I always had a big interest in getting strong, fit, and to learn martial arts, basically just to defend myself from my own brothers. But I was very lucky to find Pat Cooligan right in my neighborhood. He was teaching at a karate school at the time. And a friend of mine was really pushing me to look into doing jiu-jitsu. I had done a couple of traditional martial arts at 15 and 16, and I was very curious. I was really excited, but I just couldn't really find anything I was really enjoying. And a good friend of mine at the time told me about jiu-jitsu, showing me the UFC videos. We were watching Pride fights. This was around 2000 and 2001. And I happened to walk into the school where Pat was teaching, and, you know, the rest is history. I went from, starting out while I was in high school doing jiu-jitsu, and I took over Ottawa Academy Martial Arts just a couple of years ago, and I love it. I've been very lucky to, you know, teach and train. I've been able to compete and travel all over the world, and I've even got to do consulting for other martial arts schools and help them with their business so that they can live the lifestyle of a martial artist and make it into a career. I've helped many fighters fight all over the like North America, or actually I should say the world. It's been just very, very lucky. And so I have to thank my brothers for being so tough on me when I was a kid, because that was ultimately my big motivation to learn how to fight and want to fight. And I was a very scared kid, like, you know, being picked on or bullied at school. I just saw martial arts as an avenue to gain strength and confidence and to find that belief in myself. I didn't want to be afraid. And I'll never forget, like, I was about 1 or 2 months in, I would say even like 1 month of jiu-jitsu training. The confidence that I had to knowing I could protect myself, just it transformed me immediately. You know, I would say, like, in high school and as a kid, martial art movies is what really inspired me to want to learn how to fight. You know, obviously, like watching movies like Steven Seagal or like stuff like Jackie Chan, or like really long time ago, or like even watching movies like Rocky, or like even like Billy Blanks. He had these like terrible B, like what do you call them, like those kind of movies. But
the Billy Blanks, like
the typo.
Yeah, but I don't even know what you call those kind of movies, but like they're like B like just these like
the B movie, like Sharknado
like a B-list,
level.
B-list. Yeah, okay, like
yeah,
Sharknado level.
Straight to VHS or whatever, right?
Exactly. So I was growing up watching those movies, like was it Jean-Claude Van Damme, all that stuff, and it really excited me to, like, I want to be like these guys I was watching in these movies. And so I started to seek out martial arts in my community. And honestly, I'm super lucky that I found jiu-jitsu, and it just, never looked back. I mean, I've been doing it now for just almost 20 years.
That's awesome. That's
awesome. Great. So one thing, you're from the last time I checked, and like we talked like a while ago, a lot of it was about you were like the head, you know, kids programming director of, you know, Ottawa Academy of Martial Arts. So you've taught a lot of kids classes in your days. How does you know, training, you know, a 5-year-old different than training somebody, you know, in the adult classes? Like, what is that structure like? Is there things that are different, things that are the same?
Well, yeah, I've been teaching kids pretty much my whole career, and it's definitely one of my most favorite parts of my career is having that opportunity to teach children. one of the things that I like to kind of consider when I teach children is a good kind of motto is, who could you have been, or who would you want to be to meet when you were a child? And that's the person you want to be when you're working with children. Like, I remember when I was a kid getting picked on, or, feeling sorry for myself, I would envision like a superhero coming to like take me away from the nonsense. And in my mind, like, that's who I want to become, is like this like superhero. And so when I'm with the children, this is how I want to present myself, is like a superhero, but I'm trying to teach them how to be their own superhero, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So the thing about teaching children and adults is that it's very hard to convince adults. Children, it's easy. When a child says I can't, it's so easy to get them past that. It's really not complicated. I have a system on how to help teach children it's okay to fail, and failure leads to success. It's very easy for me to teach a child that. Teaching an adult that is very that is very complicated. That takes a lot of man, it's tough. I often in my career have heard countless instructors say, "Oh man, I can't stand teaching children. I don't like it. I don't want to do it. It's too hard, or I'm scared." I love teaching children just because it is so easy, but it's also so much fun. I think where a lot of instructors struggle when it comes to teaching children is they themselves don't have structure and they don't have a vision. My vision for when I'm teaching children, as I said, is I want them to be their own superhero. So I have to do it first. I have to be my own superhero. So I act a certain way, and I encourage them to copy my behavior so that they become their own superhero in their own story. And again, teaching children that is, honestly, it's very easy. To teach an adult to be their own superhero in their own life, whew, like I'm still trying to figure that one out. Like, when I'm probably old, I'll write a book, I'll do videos and stuff. But man, with kids, and not only can I teach kids how to be their own superhero, I can teach any adult how to teach a child. I've done seminars in Toronto where I'm working with a lot of instructors from different schools. I've gone into schools where a team brings me in, and I work with their whole staff team and get them to a place where ultimately my goal is not only do I want them to be confident when they teach children, but I want them to have fun. I want them to love it. Talking about government in Ontario, all that stuff, I'm very excited. We get to run our summer camps. When I heard that announcement that we could do summer camp, you have no idea how big of a deal that is for me, because it's not just about getting kids in my gym, but also I have countless teenagers who are volunteering, and they're going to be working and running my summer camp. So all these youth who have not gone to school this entire time, most high school students have not gone to school. They've been doing online learning this whole time. I have a whole army of youth who are going to be working and running my summer camp. And those are the individuals I work with. So I work with the teenagers, the young adults, basically from 13 to in their early 20s. These are the people I'm working with, and they are working with the children. And so I've created this leadership model where I help very young children grow, learn how to be responsible, how to lead, and develop skills where they can actually run and teach a class themselves. And then I work with those youth to help them gain the confidence not only to teach a class of children, but even have the confidence to teach a group of adults. And even if these youth don't stay with me, they only stay for a period of time, the skills they learn give them such an advantage in university, or I should say even high school, university, any job environment they go into, they're going to crush it because they have this unique set of leadership skills and confidence and self-belief that their competitors, or the people who are maybe applying for the same job or same environment, they just trounce. I mean, I have 13-year-olds who will stand up in front of a big group of children and command and lead and guide in a fun and exciting way, where this 13-year-old is having the time of their life and all these kids are following and listening to him. I want, gentlemen, ask yourselves, what were you doing at 13 years old, 14 years old?
I don't think you want to know the answer to that question.
Were you guys teaching a group of 20 kids and where parents were looking at this, 13, 14, 50-year-old going, who is this kid? And the best thing is, I tell the mom, the dad, I go, look, that's your child's future. This 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old that's teaching your child right now, guess what? That's what your 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old is going to become. And then what do you think the parents do? They throw money at me. They're like, yeah, let's go. Like, they're like, teach my child, get them on the path. Let's do this.
Just shut up and take my money.
and I really mean it. And a lot of these youth either become some of my best competitors and they're competing all over the world, or they become some of my main instructors running the program, or they go on to university, they crush it. They go on to some career, they crush it. So anyways, I get to be part of these children and adults' legacy. So I love teaching adults as well. I love teaching, period. But I really enjoy teaching teachers how to teach. That's truly like my passion is teaching, and my passion is teaching other people how to succeed at being a teacher. I absolutely love it. And the big difference between children and adults is just that it's the paradigm that an adult is in. It takes a lot of work to shake them out of that paradigm.
You got to break an adult down a lot more.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why jiu-jitsu is so special, or Muay Thai, because these martial arts are so humbling. And it's a real dose of reality that a lot of adults just don't get. Like, there's no aspect of their life where they get, a real slap in the face of reality. And combat martial arts does that. And if you have the right environment, you can help countless adults. Like, don't get me wrong, but children, it's easy. It's easy. And when people struggle with children, I can help them get past that. I have a very strong system of how to teach children. I've helped countless people have their develop their own system to succeed with their own kids programming. And I could go into greater detail about some of these like specific skill sets, but hopefully that answered your question.
No, I think it did.
Yeah, it really did. Because I think, like, if anybody's listening to this and we're like, okay, they think the idea of like, okay, I'm going to open up a school and I'm going to be a competitor driven school. And like, they're really looking at their business model wrong. Because like, you just laid out an amazing, not even business plan, but the vision of a business, how successful it could be, teaching teachers and all those future leaders within that same club on like how to build it right there.
Yeah. Like, I know a lot of martial arts schools struggle having a strong staff team. I know even some martial arts schools, what they do is they steal staff from other schools. I don't fear that, because I build up so many great people that even if these great people leave me, I got more great ones on the way. And if these great people who I've built go on to do great things somewhere else, great. It's all good. I just want people to be the best they can be, and specifically in leadership. So, talking about the government, I'm talking about seeing a big lack of leadership, or absence of leadership, where I think most martial arts schools, where they could take off the most is delivering true leadership skills with the children and the adults. And I really believe that's where we can really go on a whole other level. Yes, the fitness industry is going to explode. People are going to get back to exercise and training, and that's all good. But people are in desperate need of leadership skills to lead as an individual themselves and to lead their family, their community. Like, man, I walk around my neighborhood. I know everybody. I live 2 minutes from my school. I walk around and people know me because I've been teaching their children or I've taught them. And I'm actually making a contribution to my community on a daily basis. I've had a lot of parents call me up horrified at what's going on with their youth, specifically their teenagers, because the teenagers are in this weird gap. You know, the children who are 12 and younger, grade 6 or grade 8 and younger, they've been able to keep going to school on and off. So it's been a bit of a balance. The children who are between grade 9 and 12, they haven't been in school at all. So a lot of them are in this like terrible, I want to say like shadow. It's already difficult being a youth and a teenager. It's already difficult. People don't want to give you a chance. I have parents calling me saying, give my child an opportunity, or they're asking me, how could I help? And I'm creating an environment where I can create an impact. I can put them in an environment where there's mentors. Like I'm sure you guys can agree. It's really nice to have older people training with us, because if you have personal questions or you're looking for a unique guidance, it's nice to have old people around you where you can ask them for help and input. A lot of these teenagers are either home alone or they're hanging out with people they shouldn't be hanging out with, doing things they shouldn't be doing. Make sense?
Yeah.
And this is where, again, a martial arts school is providing like a huge pillar right now that I would say is in big need. A place where parents know, okay, my youth, my child is in really good hands. But not just that, we're giving them real like life skills on top of fitness. Make sense? So I'm quite passionate about this. I could really
it's great. Like honestly, because like you're like one guys that we brought on where like you have an amazing successful program, and we want you to kind of like, that's what we want you to bring you here for, like talk about it, right? So that's glad that you have that much passion towards it.
Yeah,
because that's the successful part of your business, right?
And also the important thing is like, it's, you know, we talk about like, you know, jiu-jitsu and like, you know, being like a world champion and all this other stuff, and you know, like creating competitors, tournaments and all this, but what you're saying is like, I think probably your biggest success to date is, you know, just someone who may not ever compete in a tournament, but then they're like, you're teaching them the life skills that they're going to use to, you know, go to university, do well, get, you know, graduate top of their class, and like, and they're going to be, you know, productive members of society. These are the things that we don't talk about enough when it comes to like, you know, a lot of people talk about barambolos and all this stuff, but but with that said, there's the intangible skills that you may not necessarily learn, or like that are just directly taught to you with like a certain armbar or a choke. You're learning that you're going to be using potentially the rest of your life, like how to communicate, how to talk to people, and these are the things that are, you know, unfortunately are missing in a lot of places right now. Ontario government. Sorry, I had something stuck in my throat. Go on.
I was just going to say that like I've started my staff training for summer camp. So we're just doing it over Zoom, and I'm trying to get everyone prepared for when we can officially open and start running our camps. And I don't want my team to be unprepared. So we're already started our staff training, and a large part of it is I'm just teaching them how to treat these children when they arrive to camp. Mm-hmm. Just how to lead themselves, how to lead these children, and how to create an inclusive environment, and specifically how to communicate successfully, how to communicate structure into the environment so that these children know the expectations, and these youth that I'm relying on know how to maintain the structure. And I already got feedback from the parents where their youth have attended my training, and the parents are like, man, I haven't seen my teenager light up like this in months. They're like, what did you do? What were you talking about? That now my youth is like skyrocketing with excitement. Like what's going on? Anyways, I've done martial arts for a long time. I've had the honor of competing against some of the best all over the world, and you know, getting that medal, it's special, it's great, it's very gratifying. But I have this moment where I traveled with the team once, and I remember it like yesterday, where I got a gold medal at the event, and when I got back into the vehicle, none of my teammates had won. It was just myself. And I remember something clicked in my mind where I said, this was never going to happen again. And I became hyper obsessed on building up the people around me so I could see the people around me succeed. And that's what started to happen. A lot of the competitors started winning, and I saw not only myself doing well, but all of us. But still to this day, no matter what medal I have or have earned, when I see a child succeed at doing a front roll or a back roll, or speak to me by looking me in the eyes, that will always outweigh any title I have or could have earned. There's no amount of money you could pay me when a child's like, man, Sensei Hammer, thank you. Like, that's it. I sometimes get these emails from parents or youth so heartfelt. I'm like, man, this is going to push me for the next 2-3 years. This one email, you know, it's I don't go to work to make a whole lot of money. Like, that's not what gets me out of bed in the morning. It's just to feel like I'm actually giving something to somebody and they'll have a better life because of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. I think you nailed it right there, right? Like, I think if people really, it's that passion, and that's the whole thing. You're driving your passion more than anything, rather than, okay, these kids are dollars and cents, right? You're driving passion. That's really what it is.
Yeah, that's it.
Perfect. So obviously, like, when you look at like the current flux of like the way jiu-jitsu is kind of like, well, I'd say like even like for sport, right? The way it's kind of flowing, where that no-gi competition scene is kind of like really started to take hold. Where do you kind of see like the sport itself kind of like moving towards? Do you see it moving more towards a no-gi kind of atmosphere game, or do you still see like things still being traditional, building around schools, like the schools like you've built, or somewhere around there?
You know, that's an interesting question, because I have been watching very closely, like the evolution of jiu-jitsu competition. Like, you know, to share a pretty wild story, like I in 2003, I got to be in Brazil when Roger Gracie broke Jacare's arm. I got to be there for that event, you know, and the gi jiu-jitsu, I would say, was at quite an incredible peak. But in Canada, nobody knew what the hell jiu-jitsu was. You know, the community was so tiny at the time. It was very, very small in early 2000. From 2000 to 2010, I would say there was a huge explosion, but still not really, we didn't see it in Canada. But I would say from 2010 to 2015, the sport really blew up in Canada, let alone the whole world. But I don't think it's a bad thing seeing like this evolution of no-gi competition or this submission only. I think what we're watching is jiu-jitsu diversify. It's going in lots of directions. And I really feel all that's doing is creating more opportunity for everybody. But I really believe any successful school teaching jiu-jitsu, you have to teach every aspect of grappling, every aspect of what possibly could happen, from like leg locks to working judo, wrestling, to all aspects of this sport jiu-jitsu, where the gi is so complicated now, where the positions, the grips that you can use. So I think we're going to continue to see the sport go in all sorts of directions. But I think what will dictate that the most is who's going to put the money up. What are the events that are going to pay? So I know a lot of like young athletes really are striving towards the IBJJF and like earning those titles, because you get a lot of notoriety all over the world. But I watched a lot of athletes reach this like level of notoriety in the IBJJF, world champion multiple times. And what was the most common trend when they became an IBJJF multiple champion? They go MMA. And why? Because they want to go and get paid. It had nothing to do with going to MMA and dominating the scene and being like the best in the world. It just, they were looking to get paid. They had competed at the highest levels of jiu-jitsu and made no money. So then they had to go to MMA and try to use their name, their brand, and try to get like a payday. So if these no-gi events and submission-only events keep paying out big money, well, I think we'll see the sport grow a lot in that direction. The other thing is like, I guess the event is called AGP or AJP.
Yep.
The
Abu Dhabi. Is it no? It's AGP, right?
Yeah, AGP. Like it's the new circuit. They're paying,
yes. Okay.
They're paying the competitors. If we keep seeing people put the money up, we'll see the sport keep going in those directions. Like I have an idea of what I would like to do for a promotional event for jiu-jitsu, where I could see the jiu-jitsu athletes getting paid to compete. And what I mean by paid to compete, obviously as an amateur, you can't get paid. However, you could get paid for viewership. So if the jiu-jitsu athletes can bring an audience and they could benefit from that audience, like I think there's a real way here where, like I would love to see this, where people can make a living being a jiu-jitsu athlete. So I think where you're going to see the sport go is where the money's going to be. Because like in the IBJJF, like it's nice to get these gold medals and all, but then when you look at your bills and you can't pay your bills, it like, well, what are those gold medals worth? You know, like they're not
can't melt them down and pay your hydro.
That's it. You know, and my heart bleeds for these young men who are killing themselves to become world champion, blue belt, purple, brown, black. Like, believe me, I get it. I walked that path. Like I loved it. I wouldn't trade anything for it. But then you reach an age where you're like, okay, now I gotta get paid. I gotta take care of myself. Or maybe you have a young family and you want to take care of your young family. So I would like to create a path for young athletes to be able to make money on that path. So I think with the submission only, the no-gi events, at the end of the day, whichever event is paying, that's where the sport's going to go, because athletes are going to shift over there, I think, faster and faster, which is not it's not bad. Like I enjoy watching jiu-jitsu much more than I enjoy watching MMA. And the reality is MMA is far more punishing to someone's body and their brain versus jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu, you can have a very long, healthy career in jiu-jitsu. MMA, man, you only have like a prime window where you can really excel, and then like the damage will eventually catch up with you. So it's kind of neat to see like an athlete grow in jiu-jitsu. Maybe they go into MMA, or they do Muay Thai, go into MMA, but it would be nice that they could transition to maybe jiu-jitsu and still be able to make some money competing. You know, anyways.
Absolutely. But I agree, because I think me and Aaron have talked about this with a lot of different people. Like you mentioned the old model, hey, I'm going to win some world titles and then I'm going to go to MMA and that's where I'm going to make my money. Where now you're starting to see the last few years, you're starting to see, you know, a lot more people use like social media, like, you know, like Gordon Ryan, for example. You can agree or disagree with what he's posting, but what he's doing is he's getting more attention on himself, which you even said, like more viewership. He's going to get a lot more attention, and he's going to have different ways of, you know, taking advantage of that. And that has nothing to do with him competing in MMA. You know, Craig Jones, for example, somebody who, you know, just competed yesterday as well, is doing the same thing. Like, you know, he created an OnlyFans account. I'm not sure if you're aware of this or not, but Craig Jones is officially on OnlyFans, believe it or not. But these are more like extreme examples, but,
sure.
I'll
give my favorite example. I remember when Keenan Cornelius defeated Nicholas
Marigali, I think it was. Yeah.
Nicholas Marigali. So that was the only fight that he won that was very significant at the Worlds. I forget the year it was, but he won that fight. The whole stadium erupted. His next match he lost, and he fell out of the absolute. But that one fight, he was able to skyrocket and market himself as the man. And guys like Gordon Ryan or Keenan Cornelius, I would say, are marketing geniuses, and they're creating an opportunity for other athletes to follow. You know, I just feel that that's great for them. And some people will be able to follow that model, but it's difficult. Like, for instance, like a guy like Gordon Ryan or even Keenan, both of them, they're both very animated individuals who have a persona. So they're very comfortable to use these forms of media to make money and promote themselves. And maybe they're not comfortable with it. Maybe they're putting on a show. I don't really know. But what I do know is most martial artists, I would say, are quite introverted. And this idea of putting themselves out and like being obnoxious or rude or this character is very far from who they are and will be very difficult. So I really hope, and I want to be one of these people. I want to be a promoter of my own events where I can see these athletes benefit from the events. I would love to create an environment where athletes can do it as a career and like make money early on, not when they've, become a black belt. Man, like something that I want to do is put on an event where youth are competing, from teenagers, young adults, and when they compete, they're inviting their family and friends, and they can benefit from, let's say selling tickets to get to the event, or selling viewership where people get to watch their athletes to compete. I really want to see that happen for jiu-jitsu. And then this way, it'll be that much more reason to stay on this path longer, and you'll probably see even greater athletes come out of it. Like, I think there's an event tomorrow night. There's going to be, I think it's tonight right now. There's an event where there's money on the line. It's like 20 grand.
Oh, the third coast grappling. It's like 15 grand or something like that. Like the tournament.
That's it. And even if they win their first match, they get paid.
Yeah.
Like, man, like this is where the sport needs to go. If we want to keep our athletes in this environment, man, they got to get paid. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's great. The guys who are putting on the events, they're making money. Why would they not share that with the athletes? It's just like, I was an athlete for a long time, and I saw nothing for it, not a single dollar.
Look at all these medals I won. I didn't care a single time.
Yeah, like I was putting up money for all these events. So me, I know what it's like to be the athlete. I want to be in the position to pay these athletes. They're putting on the show. They deserve their fair share. And all that will do is keep the athlete in the game that much longer.
Yeah. I think one thing, especially like, I think when you look at like all these different, like, especially in the US where there's a lot less red tape, right? Where they're able to do things that the way they want to do it, and they can just have promoters do what they want. And there's not a lot of bullshit where, and I don't need to dump on the OJA right now, but I'm gonna kind of.
Yeah, you do.
But like, again, there's red tape, right? Like there's everybody wants a share. So whether it's going to be the OJA or the Ontario government, I'm going to have to pay them. And like, there's always, everybody wants their cut. So let's just say there's a pool of money. Now that's less for the athlete because we have to pay all these other people, right? So I think we got to figure out a way to get past through all the bullshit, and then you can have great events. But again, I don't work for the OJA, so
yeah, I won't hate on the OJA because I know the OJA is mostly it's Tony. Tony's doing a lot of work.
And I'm not busting Tony's chops about it, right? Because
yes, you are.
It's not Tony's fault.
I love Tony.
Just say it's all Tony's fault.
He's doing the work nobody wants to do.
Exactly. He doesn't have an easy job. Let's just say that. He definitely does not.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. But
leave it at that. But I think we're right though. I think that's how you're gonna drive the sport into like the future. Into the future is you need to create some sort of reward systems for people
Absolutely.
that are involved. Yes, if I throw an event, yeah, I want to make money. Okay, like I think that's no secret. I think I want to help the sport, but at the same time, if I'm making money, I can help the sport even more because I can create more events. Nothing wrong with that. But I think everybody's right. Like in the future, this is what I think needs to be done. And, it's only going to get more people and more eyeballs on the sport. And the more people that are watching it, the more opportunities there are for everybody that's involved.
Absolutely.
And one more thing I wanted to ask you this evening, just what, for the future for you, COVID is hopefully, going to be,
Ask this.
I'll just say, hopefully a lot more under control the second half of this year. And what are some things you're looking forward to 2021 and beyond? What are your plans for the academy and yourself?
Well, I mean, over the last couple of years with the school, I've really tried to put myself in a position where I'm really focused on building my team, building the people up around me. And really what I would like to see is my team get their chance to be in the spotlight, get them a chance to be out on as many of the world stages where they can compete, show their skills, show their abilities, and put themselves on the map. I really want to really create a strong future for my team so that these individuals can continue to have a future in martial arts. That's really what I'm loving. Obviously, I can't wait to get these youth back to training and get them on this path of competing as well, and just getting our team as active as possible. The other aspect was this was really heartbreaking, but I had planned this big event. I do an event. I try to do it twice a year, where I do a fundraiser for a women's shelter in our community. They do incredible work. It's called Harmony House. And I put on a women's self-defense seminar for free. And all I ask for is donations from the community to put on the event. And then I give all the money. And the one I did when we came out of the lockdown in the fall, I did it on my birthday. It was a huge success. And I was planning to do it in May, but the lockdown happened and I couldn't put it on. And I really want to get back to doing that stuff as well. So I really like getting involved with partners in our community that do a lot of great work. Like there's another organization called Pathways to Education, where they help youth from grade 9, 10, 11, 12. They help them graduate. I really want to do more work with high schools and students, either helping them graduate or just helping them succeed in general. I'm very community driven, and I just can't wait to get back to doing those things. Like, because all truth, like, it's not work for me. Like, I love it. I love educating people on the benefit of martial arts and getting people doing martial arts. And if I can contribute to other partners or organizations in our community that do work that I'll not be able to do, like I think about there's tons of people who've been really punished by this whole COVID and lockdown situation that we haven't even heard about yet. And I know as that stuff kind of comes out, like, it's going to be brutal. But this is where I want to help something like a women's shelter, where I know they're swamped. They've been swamped through this whole COVID situation, just dealing with one disaster after another and dealing with more situations than they ever had before. So again, like, as businesses start to excel and strive and people are like, oh, wow, we're making money again, people are in our gym, this is great. I just hope that people don't forget, like, don't leave the people behind who have been really taking a massive hit through this whole situation, or living through traumas that, we're going to hear about years from now. And that's the work I want to get back to. Like the business is easy for me. Running my school is easy. Teaching classes, getting people competing, that's all fun. That's all easy. But I want to do more valuable work and get back to that kind of stuff. And with the lockdown, kind of like shut a lot of that stuff that I like to do. It's basically stopped it. Like I couldn't continue, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it totally does. Well, and I think, like you said, it's you driving your passion more than anything. It's like educating, being a leader, being a member of your community more than anything. And you're just pushing everybody forward, right? And like, I just want to say, like, I look forward to seeing the future, like, especially what you plan on doing, especially with the school, with the community. And as you start to drive forward more, especially as we get out of this lockdown, I'm looking forward to seeing the stories that you come out with, for sure.
It's appreciated. Thank you guys so kindly to invite me to be on here. I'm absolutely honored.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's been a great pleasure speaking with you today. We definitely want to have you back because, like I said, like, you drive amazing passion towards what you do, and you have the blueprint. So, like, I think Mike and I are just going to basically call you and kind of like pick your brain on a lot of things as well.
Help us, please. Help us.
My children are terrible. What can
My
we do?
children. Please, I'll give you them. Just take them.
So yeah, no,
I'd be happy to help in any way. And like, and in all seriousness, like I want to help as many people as I can. Like, honestly, like I love teaching, and it's more gratifying for me when I see, I can help people do what I do and love it too. And when you start to love what you're doing, oh man, it's so easy. Like you're so much more eager to hop out of bed because it's not a chore. And you understand, like, oh man, like this is so beneficial, not for myself, but everybody around me. Yeah, I'm excited to do more work with you guys in the future. This should be good. This should be great.
No, awesome.
Definitely.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time for this evening. We wish you all the best, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thanks, everybody.